Now, more importantly, we have Frederika in the studio with us today. And, of course, Fred used to have her own show. Welcome, Fred.
Thank you very much. It feels very strange being on this side of the desk.
I bet it does.
I want to take over.
Well, to be honest, I need the way it all started today, I was thinking maybe Fred should be sitting here.
You know, it's been nearly a year and I was watching it and I was thinking, I'm sure I'd remember, but it's just, you forget, don't you?
You do forget. And it makes me laugh because it's one of those things where you so have to multitask. And we go on at men not being able to multitask, but if anyone's ever been in a radio studio, there's screens and faders and there's that much going on, isn't there? It's like, sometimes I can be very blonde, but I think people listening to we muddle on. We muddle on.
That's what they love about us, you see. I'm sure people used to listen to me for all the blunders.
for all that. Oh, where's she going now?
Yeah.
Right, so, yeah, you've been busy.
I have been busy, Gail. Yes, I've been very busy. I've been doing lots of things, but particularly in the last few months, I've been writing my book, Recipe for Happiness, and it's been a really enjoyable process. I'm quite a happy, bubbly person anyway, but what I wanted to do was to really look at why I'm happy and why I stay happy, even though sometimes, you know, I've gone through dark times and we all do, and things happen in life, but it's about how do you bounce back and how do you pick yourself back up, and I wanted to really look at that. So I've immersed myself in reading about happiness and in blogs about happiness and asking people about happiness, and it's been such a joyful process. It's been great fun.
So I know it's a bit of a mix, isn't it? You get to know Fred in quite a lot more detail because she talks about her own influences and experiences. Then there's some fantastic quotes from really great positive motivational speakers in there. There's a few tips, there's a few exercises, and there's some fantastic recipes.
Absolutely, yes. So I was told that it's an inspirational memoir with recipes, which I think is a really nice way of putting it, actually. So it is talking about my life a little bit, to put it into context, really, where I'm coming from when it comes to happiness, why am I in a position to talk about happiness, and where do I come from, and the things that have worked for me that I hope that my readers can take away and hope will work for them and help them be happier and bounce back when things happen to them. And in order to help me, therefore, I've read books on happiness and what other people have to say about it, and incorporated that and found that some of the things that I was doing quite naturally actually have been researched and do really work, and it's not just something that works for me, it's something that has been researched in various universities in the UK and in the United States in particular, since the advent of positive psychology in the late 90s, where psychology always used to look at what was wrong with people and how to get people back to normal when they've been depressed, and I know it's really quite dark, and you know, and it's all about the misery and how to get out of misery. And actually, in the late 90s, a chap called Martin Seligman actually looked at this and thought, well, we shouldn't be looking at just bringing people back to normal. We should be looking at how does the mind work in terms of being happy, being better than normal. How do we function at the very best that we can be? And a lot of research has gone into it since then, and it's really about the fact that when we're happy we can be so much more successful in whatever we're doing in life, in our personal lives, in our working lives. We can achieve so much more, and if you look at anybody who's in business, for example, if they're having a really bad day or a bad month, they suddenly find that things can spiral downwards very quickly, and we've all been there, I think. And actually, if you manage to put yourself into a really positive spin instead, then you find that things go a lot better, and business comes your way, and suddenly you think, why are these things suddenly just happening to me? Well, they're not. You're actually making it happen because you're happier and you're in the right mindset to make things happen. You connect with people better, and the ripple effect is fantastic.
Well, I have a philosophy, you see. I have actually read Fred's book, Hand on Heart. Can't always say that about every guest I interview because sometimes you just don't have the time or whatever. But I do try, if someone's coming in, to do my research, and I, hand on heart, I've read Fred's book. And there's some absolutely fantastic nuggets, and it's one of those books where you'll get different things out of it. It's not a book to read once, it's a pick it up and try the recipes out and all the rest of it. But I have this philosophy, you see, about happiness that, and you advocate it in your book, I know you do, that it's a skill that can be learned as well.
Yeah.
It's not something that you get by rite of passage, where some people say I'm lucky or I'm this or I'm that. It's not about that. You have to work at your own happiness. That's, to me, one of the main reasons we've been put on this earth. Is one of our main responsibilities is to look after our own happiness.
Absolutely, and yes, again, there's been research done on that which I found fascinating, which says that 50% of our natural happiness level, if you will, forgive Gail choking in the background, I'll just keep talking.
Just had a slurp of tea.
So 50% of what makes us happy is actually genetic, but that still leaves a massive amount that isn't genetic and that we can influence. And out of that remaining 50%, only 10% is actually determined by the circumstances we're in. So whether it's, people in extreme poverty, people going through bereavements and all of those things, that's actually only 10% of whether you're unhappy or happy. So that leaves a whopping 40% that's actually what the researchers, and it's particularly a lady in America called Sonia, and I can never say her surname, Lyubomirsky, and it's
easy enough for you to say.
I know.
Especially when my tea's just gone down the wrong way.
And it's what she calls the intentional activities, daily intentional activities. So there is actually stuff that you can do, that you can physically do to boost yourself. So if you imagine your happiness being on a kind of scale, and you might be naturally at the bottom end of that or at the top end, but if you carry out those intentional activities, you can still push yourself further up wherever you are naturally on the scale. So definitely it's worth working at.
And it's a choice.
Yes, very much so.
I mean, I'm a trained life coach, and a lot of the stuff that I learned during that journey of learning and then coaching, it was all about helping to empower people to make the choice, because you can wake up and feel miserable. I know you talk quite extensively about this in the book. I can't remember which chapter it's in. Can you remember which chapter where you say about waking up and making the decision?
I think that's in Happiness is a Deliberate State of Mind.
That's
so the
right.
Very first chapter,
yeah, the very first chapter. And it is about waking up and making that choice. And I think awareness is a big factor. You need to be aware of what you're doing, because some people just get into that mindset of moaning or being miserable, and it's like any other habit. It's like biting your nails or smoking a cigarette or whatever. It sometimes takes something to actually break the cycle, and to make a choice to do something differently because it's not serving you.
Absolutely, and I think we've all been there, and it doesn't matter how positive and how happy and energetic a person you are. You're going to have days occasionally when you just feel a bit down, and sometimes it's more than days. But, the little things, that's the things that you can work on when you have one of those days when it's really a series of little events, and it really depends on how you perceive them and how you decide to look at them. So it is that stubbed toe in the morning, your cup of tea spilled, you've poured coffee on your cereal, or, and everything escalates and you get stuck in a traffic jam, and you can either get really wound up about these things, and that feeling, it's like being a pressure cooker, and you feel like you're about to explode with every little thing. That pressure mounts, and you can feel it. Your heart's beating faster, and you get all clammy, and you get sweaty, and you get stressed, and you start biting people's heads off when they talk to you, and everything just gets worse and worse. And if you just break that in the morning and just say, you know what, that's it, I've stubbed my toe, I've dropped my toothbrush in the loo, whatever, and yes, it has happened, it has happened. I've got shelves in a very bad position in my bathroom where all my makeup brushes and things are, and they're right above the loo.
Please tell me you threw it away afterwards.
The toothbrush, absolutely, yes. But not the expensive mascara. That has to get washed.
No, that could be wiped, as long as it was sealed.
But things fall in the loo, and you just, you've got to just laugh about it. You can decide to get really wound up, or you can just laugh about it and tell it as a funny story and move on, and it makes a huge difference to your day.
Well, actually, Fred, you'd have thought we'd have rehearsed this, because your first record, you know what I'm going to play now, don't you? So it sounds like we've rehearsed this, talking about getting up in the morning and being happy. I don't think you could have picked a better first record whatsoever.
Oh, I love this. I absolutely
Will you introduce it, Miss DJ?
This is Wake Up Boo by the Boo Radleys, and it takes me back to my uni days and very happy times, and it's just so upbeat. Love it.
Okay, brilliant. Do you know that? I knew it was going to do that, Fred.
It ends a bit suddenly, doesn't it?
It does end a bit... You could have warned me.
Sorry.
DJ Fred.
I'm going to get it in the neck all
Do you
through
know?
the show.
No. Do you know what? Every week, without fail, one of the songs likes to do that to me. It's just like, well, okay, I'm awake. I'm here. Honestly, I'm here. I'm here actually with Frederika Roberts and. Fred used to be a very own Sine FM DJ. Used to do the Friday slot, didn't you, Fred?
Yeah, it was Fridays 10 till 12, the Simply Fred show, 80s and 90s music.
Ah, but you're missing it, aren't you? I know you
are. I am. I've just been so busy, so it's in my plan to come back at some point.
Well, even if you perhaps do a guest slot a month or something, because it is a big commitment, especially a 2-hour show. So it is, and all us here at Sine FM give our time willingly and freely, don't we?
Absolutely.
For the greater good of the Doncaster community.
And worldwide.
And yes, and on the World Wide Web, sinefm.com.
Do you know, I can still remember that. And tune in on 102.6 FM and worldwide on sinefm.com.
Absolutely.
Certain things are ingrained into your brain.
Yes, they are. Now then, gratitude.
Yes, gratitude is a huge, huge factor in happiness, really. And if you haven't practiced gratitude, then I strongly suggest trying it. But I just wanted to start by reading out a quote that I've put into my book by an author called Gretchen Rubin, who's an American author who wrote The Happiness Project. So she set about on a project for a whole year to improve her happiness and tried out lots of different things. And I must say, Gretchen has very kindly also responded to me when I told her that I was including some of her quotes in my book and wished me luck, which I thought was really lovely of her. And one of the things she said in her book about gratitude is important to happiness. Studies show that consistently grateful people are happier and more satisfied with their lives. They even feel more physically healthy and spend more time exercising. So with that in mind, you know, what is there not to be grateful about? And people think about gratitude, and if they are in a bit of a miserable spin, maybe, they think, well, what have I got to be grateful about? Everything's really rubbish at the moment. But even if your life at that point is really at an all-time low, there's bound to be something you can be grateful about. So even just thinking, I've woken up in a warm, comfortable bed, well, that's something to be grateful about, because there are people who don't. I have hot water to have a shower in the morning. That's definitely something to be grateful about. It doesn't have to be the massive things. And of course, you know, I'm hugely grateful to have 2 wonderful daughters. I'm hugely grateful to have, you know, just about enough money to put food on the table most of the time. I'm massively grateful to have a roof over my head, all of those things. And I'm grateful for the friendships in my life and the people that I love and the family that surrounds me and all of those things. But really, even when things feel really dark, you can think of some really tiny, tiny little things that you can be grateful for. And if you make a habit, some people actually keep a gratitude journal. I sort of work on the principle of keeping it all in my head. But if you make a habit of actually thinking of things that you're grateful for when you first wake up, you'll find that for a start, you get up with a spring in your step, because when you don't want to get up in the morning, and I'm not a morning person, I don't like the sound of that alarm clock.
No, nor me. I'm with you on that one.
But as soon as you tell yourself, I'm grateful because today I get to do this, I'm grateful because I'm going to go into a really hot shower, you know, I'm grateful because I've got a lovely espresso machine downstairs and I'm going to have the best coffee I could possibly have to wake myself up. Whatever it is, you start getting into that mode of, I'm going to have a great day because there's all these things in my life that I'm really happy about and really grateful for.
I think basically what it does is it breaks that cycle of moaning.
Yes. Absolutely, it does. And we do moan. We all do.
We are predisposed.
And I think we probably do an awful lot of it in Britain. I think it's part of the British psyche to moan. And you know, we like to moan even more than we like to complain. So rather than actually telling people that there's an issue with something, we'll moan to other people about it so that nothing can actually happen. We just have a good
we just moan.
Exactly. So, you know, if there is something that you're not happy about, look at what you can do to change it. If somebody's giving you bad customer service, rather than moaning and making yourself miserable, have a chat to that business and tell them what they could do to improve. You know, that'll make you feel a lot better. And it's not moaning, it's actually being constructive. And it's the same thing, you know, look at your life, look at the things that perhaps you're moaning about, other things that you can change, and those that you can change, then do it. And those that you can't, then accept that they're what they are at the time, and focus on the things that you're grateful for instead.
Now, it's at the end of each chapter, there's a little over to you box, isn't there?
Yes, some chapters I've been really sort of slave driving and put more than one over to you box as well.
Right.
So it depends on the chapters, and sometimes I felt that there was more than one thing that people could do. But yes, each chapter has at least one over to you box, so it's not just a passive reading book. And I really would like people who are reading the book to read it actively, as in take some time to reflect after each chapter and actually do try what I suggest in the boxes, because that's then about putting into action all the tips and the learnings. Yeah, it's no good going to a workshop and never doing what you've learned. It's no good going to reading an academic book and never actually putting into practice what you've learned in it. And it's the same thing with something like this. It's all about putting those ingredients for happiness into your life and actually making sure that you're putting that work in, as we were saying earlier on, to actually make yourself happier.
It's just made me realise so that actually sitting down and watching a fitness DVD is not going to get me fit, is it?
I hate to break it to you,
That's
Gail.
what I've been doing wrong. That's not active watching, is it?
No.
or listening.
Do you remember the old days of GMTV's Mr. Motivator?
Yes.
And I used to watch him and wonder why I wasn't losing any weight.
I'm not getting fit here. What's happening?
Absolutely. I felt very motivated.
Now
but I
that'll
didn't
sell a
actually do
few
anything.
DVDs. Watch this and you'll get fit. Come on, let's sort it out. Anyway.
And you definitely won't get fit, I suppose, if you cook the recipes.
No.
in that book.
Yeah, but you say that, but they're all, I mean, they're very simple. They're not, they're
Apart from the tiramisu. Well,
and
even that's
possibly
simple,
the
but-
soupli, but only because that's got various aspects to it. But even the various aspects within their component parts are simple. But a lot of it is just good, healthy, Italian style food. Most of it, isn't it? It is Italian
It is,
style,
most
really,
of it,
isn't
yes,
Well,
and-
definitely continental.
Absolutely. Well, I am Italian. I'm Italian and German, but I'm definitely Italian when it comes to food and cooking. And for me, really, the food part of it, I love food, but it's more than about loving the food. For me, food is about family and about love and about cooking for other people and sharing that food and sharing that love. Excuse me.
Oh, it's catching now.
I know. And it is an Italian thing, because Italians spend time over their food. And when I think of spending time with my family in Italy, it's always around a dinner table. When I go to my auntie's house in Rome and she puts on a light snack, well, the table in her kitchen, they had the kitchen extended, just so that they had more room to feed people. And extending a kitchen in a flat is not the easiest thing to do, believe you me, but they managed to do it. They gave up a balcony in order to have more kitchen space. And that kitchen got extended not in terms of the cooking space, just in terms of having a massive table in there. And the table is almost as big as the studio in here. And when you go for a light snack, it's covered in food. And that's, I didn't make an effort. There's just a few nibbles on here for us to have. And it's that time, the hours spent around the table in good company, and that for me is really what it's all about. And that's why I felt I needed to include recipes in a book about happiness, because it's so integral to Italian life and to what makes me happy, that spending that time with people and cooking for other people. And I just started watching Nigella in her new series, Nigellissima. And Nigella, I must admit, I have a bit of I want to be Nigella.
That's a bit of a girl crush.
It's more than a girl crush, I want to be her.
No.
But
I think one Nigella in the world is sufficient.
well,
Frederica.
I want to be my version of Nigella.
Yes, I know what you mean.
The better and even better, even more improved. At the beginning of every episode of Nigellissima, she says, in Italy, more than anywhere else, food is life. It's family, it's tradition, it's pleasure, it's passion, it's style, and it's confidence. And I thought, what a wonderful thing and what a wonderful way to put it. And it really is about that. And all the things that embody happiness are in that as well, really.
Yeah, I think in this country we've lost sight of that. We've very much, by and large, and I'm generalising massively here, we don't have that culture really of sitting round and family meals, possibly Sunday lunch and Christmas lunch. And usually I think they end up in arguments anyway, don't they? Whenever you get a family round the table.
Well, I'm not saying that doesn't happen in Italy, because you do get the big family rows, absolutely.
I'm just sitting there thinking recipe for disaster, I don't know about recipe for happiness.
But that's part of the fun of it. it, isn't it? In a way of being able to have that time around a table and have a good old row.
I jest.
I love that. And, you know, Italian families will row at the dinner table and they talk about politics, which is always a no-no, isn't it, if you want to avoid conflict?
Well, we kind of have this impression that the Italians are a passionate race.
Oh,
so
yes.
Any subject and they pick up on.
Absolutely.
Right, your next choice of song. Again, I think we've timed these beautifully for the conversation we're having. I'm just going to start the intro, and then you'll know exactly what it is, so you can introduce it.
It's REM, and it's Shiny Happy People, and it's about being happy, really. And again, it takes me back to a wonderful time at university where I met the love of my life, and this particular song, listening to it in a pub with Simon, my now husband, and with a good friend of ours, and we're spending the weekend, and this song just takes me back to that moment straight away. So REM, Shiny Happy People.
Now you see, I was on it there. I could hear it going. I could hear it going. I was on it. I thought,
well done.
It's not going to defeat me, shiny happy people, you shiny happy people. I'm here with Frederika Roberts, and Frederika has written a book, Recipe for Happiness, and it's all about the ingredients you need to have a happy life. And it's her musings of her life and how that's framed her and the way she thinks and feels. And there's some very insightful things. And she's had, like a lot of us, some quite trials and tribulations, haven't you, Fred?
Yeah.
And she talks about those, and then she gives us some great knowledge, really. I mean, I think there's some really good nuggets of really making you think in it. And as I say, everybody will get something different out of the book anyway. Packed full of fantastic recipes. I just keep saying to you, when can we come round for dinner then, Fred, please?
You started subtly, didn't you? Going, it makes me want to eat at your house. When are we coming over?
I want to be in your gang. Honestly, when you've read this book, you want to be in Fred's gang. That's what it's for. The other thing as well, Fred, which people might not know about you, is you're an actual professional speaker.
I am, yes. So I speak with two hats, really. One is I speak about social media marketing, and that's one side of things, and that's very businessy. But I also speak as a professional speaker about happiness, and again, it's about promoting happiness in similar ways to the book. So audiences coming away with real practical things that they can do to actually improve their happiness, and as a result therefore be more successful in life and achieve more, whether that's on a business front or whether that's in their personal lives, whatever it is that they've set themselves as goals or want to achieve.
So have you done a Facebook page, The Happiness Speaker? What's your Facebook page
I have,
under?
yeah. So it's facebook.com/happiness.speaker. So
if somebody wants to connect with you and would love you to come and speak for them, that would probably be the best place, wouldn't it?
Yes, there's the Facebook page, and there's also my website, which is happiness-speaker.co.uk. So either way, they'll be able to contact me from one or the other if they want me to speak for them. And I'll go, I'll speak about happiness in schools. It's very relevant to teenagers who are full of teenage angst and actually getting them to overcome exam pressure and all of that kind of thing. And I've spoken for Age UK when they ran Older People's Day in Doncaster, so looking at helping older people overcome the issues of depression that can sometimes come in a later life, and also the people who care for older relatives and boosting their happiness. I recently spoke as a finalist at the Professional Speaking Association's annual convention in Manchester in front of 200 odd people as a finalist in their speaker factor. So my audiences are varied and many, and I'm happy to speak to networking groups and Rotary and Women's Institute and all of that. Anybody who really wants to know about how they can become happier and how that can help them be more successful.
Well, I can't imagine anybody would not want to listen to that unless they're called Victor Meldrew, however.
Maybe that should be my thing,
Yeah.
Even the Victor Meldrews.
Yeah, even Victor Meldrews can come along to my talk. Now, while we're talking about links and all the rest of it, as usual on feelgoodfactor.me, my website, under shows, Fred's picture and her link direct to order the book. You can go there and buy the book. It's being released on the 1st of December, so it's only 2 weeks away, isn't it? So, but you can pre-order, and if you pre-order, you get a signed copy.
Yeah, absolutely. So get those pre-orders in, and you can have an autographed copy,
Signed copy.
Signed copy.
Yeah, you're like a proper author now, you.
I know. It feels really strange.
Which reminds me, you're also going to be doing a book signing, aren't you, on Friday the 13th of December in Doncaster?
I am, and I'll not read anything into the date of Friday the 13th.
No. Do you know what? 13 is my lucky number, so it's again, it's a state of mind.
Absolutely, and as I keep saying, actually, I can pick and choose because the Italians think 13 is lucky and 17 is unlucky. So depending on what date it is, I'm either Italian
or which language you're talking in. I might just add, Fred is enviably fluent in Italian, German, English. Anything else you want to add? French, oh, French.
And a bit of Spanish and Luxembourgish.
Oh, a bit of Spanish and Luxembourgish. Oh, yeah. So there you go. But Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th,
you're not quite sure what time, but I'm going to be announcing it more properly closer to the time. It's going to have a few authors, and it's going to be in Barclays Bank. In Doncaster, in the main Barclays Bank, but as I say, we've got enough time to get the proper information out. So if you'd like to actually meet Fred and buy a copy of a book and have a chat to her about happiness, she'll be there at some point for 2 or 3 hours during the day to do a book signing. But I'll keep everybody posted on that. And if you really do want to meet her, then just go to Facebook, because she'll put all the details on there anyway, won't you?
Absolutely, yeah, and on my Twitter as well.
Yeah, and what I'll do is I'll add the links. I've only got the book link on feelgoodfactor.me under shows now. I will add the Facebook link and your website link to that section, so if people want to get to you and they only remember feelgoodfactor.me, that's enough, because there's no excuse. You can get to her if you want to, in a non-stalkerish type fashion.
Yes, that's it.
I may add. Now, it's been lovely to have you. It's a fantastic book. It's called, in fact, you give it a plug. Go on, Fred.
So the book is called Recipe for Happiness, 9 Essential Ingredients for a Happy Life. And it's by me, Frederika Roberts. So it is available to pre-order. Go to the feelgoodfactor.me and the link is there. It's available to pre-order, and you'll get a signed copy, and it's going to be officially published in paperback on the 1st of December.
Okay. Well done. You sound like a professional. You should come in and do this, Fred.
Oh, I should think about that.
I reckon you'd be quite good at it. Can you remember what your last song was? In fact, I'll start it just in case.
It's Katrina and the Waves, I think, isn't it?
It is. Well done. Okay, you've got 24 seconds.
Right, Katrina and the Waves, Walking on Sunshine. What more can I say? It's fantastic. Get up, get dancing, sing along.
Definitely, and it's been a joy to have you in today, Fred, and good luck with the book, and we'll keep people posted about the event on Friday the 13th.
Thank you very much.
Still got Fred here, and she's just telling me she's just about to leave the building. But what were you saying about Katrina and the Waves as you were about to depart the building?
John Kelly just reminded me. I'd obviously blocked this out of my memory, but I think it's the first song I ever played on Sine FM when I started my show last year, and somebody had messed with the speeds on the pitch or whatever you call it. I'm not very technical. And as I was putting it on, I thought, this doesn't sound right. And it was just really slow. So I had to wait for somebody to come and rescue.
Walking on sunshine. Was it a bit like that, was it?
Yeah, she sounded a bit manly. So I had to wait for somebody to come and rescue me, and then suddenly it went, whoa! And speeded up, which...
Who came running in? Did John come running in?
I think it was John.
Came running into your rescue.
Absolutely.
Oh, brilliant. No, these stories, but I've done some right clangers. But when you're live, and that's
it.
That's the way it is. But that's what's great about it, because you can't go back and change it. It's done. It is done.
Exactly.
It is done.